Good morning. Good morning, everyone. GM. And welcome to another episode of FOMO Hour. Today is Tuesday, June 10th, 2025. Folks, the all-time high waiting rooms are open. We're in there. A few tokens have already gotten there late last night or this morning. It looks like Bitcoin, it's close. It's edging a little bit, dipping a bit here this morning. And the question on everyone's minds, are we going to get it today or not? We're going to break it down on today's show. No Farouk, he is traveling, but we've got Mando on. We've got Logan on with us. Mando, GM, how you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you, man?
I'm good. I woke up to a very green board. It was electric green. So a very nice start to the day.
Yeah.
It feels like we're moving. It feels like there's something in the air to me. At least that's how I'm feeling right now.
Yeah. I mean, I said what I said to you yesterday. Like, I think the thing I've really been picking up on is these staking ETFs that I think is going to be most probably approved this month. Remember, BlackRock have been asking for this for a while. And then we have a number of different firms actually close to that. And I think if that was to happen, I think you have a little bit of, and then there were some comments yesterday from the SEC chair basically being like, DeFi, don't worry about it. We're not going to come after you guys anymore. And so you had all the big DeFi coins rally quite a lot. And I think that's, just a really good sign. So I think now, I've been bullish on ETH for a little bit now. I think now it's got the narrative that you need it to, right? Before it was just like, oh, it's rallying and like what's going on. Now it's got like some semi reason for why you can be bullish. Oh my God, staking ETFs. I don't even know how big that's going to be, but like there's just a thing that people can say, it's that. And so if that gets delivered, then you can see a rally. Do you know what I mean? Or I think the other thing is this DeFi stuff. So it's like, oh, DeFi is suddenly about to explode. Like, I think I'm now just like waiting for the point where like the narrative starts to make sense, and that it suddenly did pretty recently. So I'm relatively bullish now on where things are going to go.
Yeah, ETH was narrative-less. Basically, the only narrative was it's a catch-up trade. It's oversold.
Yeah.
But now there's some more substantial ones. So we'll get into it. Definitely some big pieces of news there. Plus, we've also got Logan back for the first time in what feels like several weeks. Logan, GM, how you doing?
Hey, good morning. Yeah, it has been a couple of weeks, but a couple of good weeks. I think last time I was on, Bitcoin might have been around 95, 96, something like that.
Wow.
So, it feels much better. Of course, waking up today, the green on the board. And you know what? Maybe those easy road, those mile markers for the easy road, they might be approaching. I don't know, who knows? Hopefully.
Are we going to be on the easy road? Perhaps even as soon as this week. That's what the M2 chart tells us. But not everyone is buying it. We'll get into it on today's show, folks. What are we talking about? We're going to start with the market report as always. We got more Bitcoin treasuries spinning up. These ETH ETFs are on a 16-day streak now. We've got, as Mando mentioned, some bullish DeFi commentary out of SEC Chair Paul Atkins. Hype hits a new all-time high. The Launchcoin ecosystem rebounding quite a bit. Folks are already running out their annualized revenue graphics. You love to see that. Pump Fund wasn't saved by this Verse token yesterday, which came out of nowhere and ran to $1 billion. We've got other meme leaders on the move. Virtual's moving to ETH. This OCAP Games raise, Thruster winding down ops, and more. A lot to get into. Before we do it, shout out to our partners, starting with Wallet Connect. Wallet Connect is the connectivity network shaping the future of on-chain UX. If you've connected to a Web3 app, you've seen Wallet Connect. That blue logo, it's everywhere. An icon of trust in crypto, as recognizable as Visa at the checkout. If you want to learn more, follow at Wallet Connect on X and Telegram to stay ahead of what's next. And with Kraken Pro, you get full control over your layout. Drag and drop any module, customize it all. It's clean, smooth, and built for real traders. If you trade crypto, check out pro.kraken.com. Trade without trade-offs. We love our partners as always. All right, Mando, if you're ready, let's get into it.
Do it.
Who is the man, macro daddy of the land? Can you dig it?
GM everyone. So yeah, it's been a decent day, I think. Bit mixed for Bitcoin, but for altcoins, we've had a decent run up. As I said yesterday, it feels like the crux of this is to do with the comments by the SEC's chair yesterday, basically being like, we're okay on DeFi now. You saw a bunch of DeFi coins rally pretty aggressively on the back of that, which was mainly AAVE was the big one. And then you've had Hype hit a new all-time high off the back of that too. I think Hype was mentioned in Washington yesterday. And I think the other one's Uni. Uniswap had a decent move. So this whole like ETH ecosystem, ETH DeFi thing suddenly kind of got a narrative behind it. And you've seen a big rally, I think, in ETH, and then kind of ETH related coins. Some of the ETH betas did well. To be fair, some of the generic betas did well. Like we've seen a big move in things like Fartcoin. Obviously they've got Coinbase, and I think Coinbase just added perps as well for them. So dominating in terms of volume. So it feels like coins that you want to own are doing well. I don't think we're seeing a broad-based altcoin season, and I tweeted that out just before we went live. Like, I don't think we're going to see a broad-based altcoin season just because it doesn't feel like there's enough new people that have come in to buy altcoins. I think just buy the coins which are strong. Do you know what I mean? Or have been strong. Like Hype is a good coin to buy right now because it's strong. If the market's strong, that'll rally. Fartcoin market, it's a coin that most people will have on their list of a potential buy. It rallied. I think AAVE maybe is its own like select thing because it has this relationship with ETH at the moment, has a fee switch, but after the Circle IPO, there's some look at like DeFi coins having a decent move. But AAVE is another one which feels very much ETH beta. But other than that, I'm like wary of like FOMOing in. I think you're kind of seeing that. Like the other L1s, Sui, Solana, like they're doing okay, but like they don't feel like you're sitting there some raging, like that's at 158. Like it's kind of up, but it's also unchanged on the week. So I'd be very wary, just like we're about to see everything go to all-time high again. I think we're gonna see, as always with altcoin season now, pockets of stuff which outperforms, and I would probably go with the trend on stuff that you think is going to outperform. So Hype has been such an obvious one for a while, but there's obviously a few more in that sort of world. That was it in terms of like the main top-down crypto news. There's obviously more companies coming saying that they're going to buy Bitcoin. That happens every single day. But I think ETH ecosystem is kind of taking the majority of the focus right now. And then as I said to Tyler, I think we will hear about staking ETFs soon. I just get the feeling that is going to be the headline. And it may be for ETH and Solana, or it may just be for ETH, but it feels as though I think we're going to hear about that in the next month or so. Staked ETH hit an all-time high actually overnight, which I think is an interesting move. But and I'm not the biggest ETH bull of all time. I think you can tell I've been pretty against it, but I do think it's got this like narrative now where it can push on. Yesterday in macro was pretty quiet actually. Tesla is taking a lot of the focus just because of what Trump and Elon were doing. But this period has been a period of rising bond yields, stocks actually heading towards roughly all-time highs, but really big moves in a lot of commodities. So gold has kind of stuck in around all-time high, but you have silver hitting close to an all-time high. I think it's platinum. Platinum is going parabolic right now. So a lot of these like hard assets are trading very well. And these are assets which don't really move like that. Like they traditionally are quite quiet. So it's just interesting to see. This is probably not a bullish sign, but it's a sign that people are kind of wanting to move away from bonds and stocks and into stuff that they perceive to be a bit more of like a hedge against that sort of stuff. This week we still have CPI and PPI. CPI actually come out?
I think it's tomorrow, right?
It's tomorrow. Sorry. So it's tomorrow, and I think that'll be the main thing that will move the market. And normally, what happens is PPI comes out, CPI comes out, market moves, and then the market kind of reverses what it was doing when PPI comes out. I think we'll probably come in slightly below expectations again. as we have seen. But I don't think these CPIs are that important because the Fed has already said, look, we don't really care. We think there's going to be some short-term impact of tariffs. It's like if it comes above, people will just say, oh, don't worry about it. Which I think is kind of an interesting position to be in.
Yeah, I think there's more upside than downside risk to your point. Like if it's a little high, it's like, oh, we knew about this. It's tariffs. Yeah. But I think the Milk Road crew has been tracking the Trueflation to CPI data, and it looks like it's been reporting on some kind of like a 45-day lag CPI compared to Trueflation. So the Trueflation index is going up since May, but it was very, very low in April and May. So if we get the May CPI data, and if it's tracking into this range, like it could be a very low number. And if it comes in low, I wonder if folks will run with that temporarily, rightfully or wrongfully. I was looking at the rate cut odds. So I think there's starting to be, I'm seeing this narrative. I heard it on the Nifty show this morning that folks think there won't be any rate cuts this year. Like that's still, that would be very, there's low chances of no cuts, 7%. So we're looking at 30% odds of one cut on the CME futures, 40% chance of 2, 20% for 3. So we'll see if this changes coming out of the CPI. But how much does this even matter right now? Like we were talking about some of the catalysts, right? Yesterday I said on the show, I think it was after you left, Mando, and then you responded to me on X, that crypto kind of broadly feels like a powder keg, and there's a handful of announcements that could really light the match. And I was pointing to like potentially the no capital gains if the U.S. is finding a way to acquire, and if they make any announcements there as two like blockbuster ones. Certainly there are others. I think the resolution to the U.S.-China trade deal would be one, perhaps on a smaller scale, but at least for a near-term boost. The staking ETFs are a very interesting one.
Yeah, I think the fact that BlackRock have been pushing for it. I mean, you've seen a lot about this. So the reason why this has happened is on the 31st, it was basically said that if you stake, it's not considered to be a security, and that's quite a big thing. And then yesterday, similarly, the SEC's chair came out and said basically like staking's fine. So you've seen this like very quick movement towards this, and there's a number of ETFs coming up which have applied for that sort of staking. So it now seems highly likely that we're going to see something around that relatively soon. And I think if that comes out, this whole narrative of like all this ETH is staked, supply shock, all that sort of stuff, alongside what we saw with Pectra, can kind of be the new narrative. I'm just looking ahead. I don't even fully believe in this narrative. Like I'm actually of the belief that Solana looks really undervalued, but I don't think it's going to be the thing that outperforms here. I think ETH is just got itself in a really nice spot.
I'm with you. I feel like it's one of those things that will have been obvious in hindsight. And there's some folks like Pintoshi has been kind of pounding the table on the staking ETFs are around the corner for what feels like 3 to 6 months now. So he's been at it for a while. But like this candle from 1,800 to 2,500 in 3 days in early May, a move like that feels like it's in the realm of possible scenarios. It's probably like the top 10% bullish outcome coming out of the back of a staking ETF. But if ETH ripped from 2,700 to 3,300, I wouldn't be that surprised. And it would still be negative on the year.
Yeah, I think that's what I think. It's like it's still not liked enough. Like which I think the other issue is that everyone bought the betas, right? No one wants to nail one, which is like the other bit of the trade here. We're like, the betas are not trading apart from AAVE. Like the betas, my ETH bag that I bought has done way better than the bag I bought with Mog or Pepe. They've kind of gone sideways over this period. Rect has done really well, obviously, but I think Rect is like, people consider Rect an ETH beta. I think is like maybe looking at it wrong. It's got its own like it's like capital markets thing. But I think the ones that you would traditionally think of ETH beta, SPX, I guess, is one. But I feel like that was kind of under-owned. Do you know what I mean? Like it was like when people say, "What do you want to own for ETH Beta?" You probably say Pepe, and Pepe's done okay, but ETH, just owning ETH itself, has actually beaten Pepe.
Interesting. I hadn't really looked at them both side by side.
It really reminds me of when we all felt Solana was about to go to 200 or like 250, and everyone bought all the betas, and then you end up just like fighting it out on these betas because there's not enough new people coming in to buy those. Whereas ETH is the institutional one. You know, like, this is maybe a bad analogy, but sometimes it's like owning runes because you think Bitcoin is the trade. You know, like sometimes just own a bit of Bitcoin.
Yeah.
You know, we're so obsessed with getting the 10x that we might just miss the 2x in much bigger size that you can probably put on. And that's kind of my thought a little bit here.
It makes sense. I feel like one difference between like the Solana run up last year, I think people held Sol, and certainly people went out the risk curve and traded Sol memes and got Sol beta. But I'd say a lot of my friends in my trading circles were holding Solana bags. I don't have those friends holding ETH bags right now. I mean, other than you've been kind of pounding the table on it here for a little while, but not many others. Maybe Stats. I think Stats has been holding his ETH for quite some time.
The difference is Fink is your buddy holding ETH and others. Yeah, that's the difference here.
Look at
it's an institutional play. I'm not even that bullish. I don't really use ETH like as a thing, right? I much prefer using Solana, and part of that's just a phantom thing, right? But I just prefer it as a chain whenever I'm doing any payments or like just everything about it. I prefer, but I do think ETH has just got the narrative right now. And if you're going to talk, if you think about what everyone's bullish on right now, it's institutions coming in. ETH feels very like it's built for these sort of like institutions who are going to come in and put on like 500 million of treasuries, or like they're gonna. It just feels like it's built for that. Narrative a little bit.
Well, there's two factors. One, there's the yield component, which is just an obvious niche. The other is the Joe Lubin, we're building the world computer, the alternative to traditional finance. And that narrative was that was loud in 2021. Like when I was kind of really first entering the space and learning about these majors and what the different. Then it was like digital oil, and none of us really understood what digital oil meant. But I think the setup, and if price action starts going back positive, the narrative for the world computer becomes stronger as well. That coupled with the foundation starting to pivot a bit their focus as well. Logan, I think you're nodding your head.
Yeah,
I'm curious for your thoughts on all this.
Yeah, I think it's difficult, at least from my perspective, and I'm not like actively acquiring or trading ETH at this point in time, but from just my objective observations of headlines and such from the last few weeks, it's difficult not to have some level of optimism around ETH at present time. You mentioned the Joe Lubin interview alone. I got to write an article about that and listen into your interview in depth. That's a tough one to walk away and not feel super bullish on, and no one or very few people, right, would have better insight into the future of Ethereum, both near term and long term, than Lubin would, of course, right? Couple that with, as you've noted here, Mando, the institutional interest. Analysts from Bernstein and et cetera are talking about that, as well as just pointing to the fact that some of that interest is people looking to actual activity on these networks and seeing their underlying token. When we talk about playing betas versus not playing betas, seeing the underlying token as things that are perhaps undervalued. That was something that was highlighted in a Bernstein note from mid-May or something like that. That just kind of stuck with me. Stablecoin interest, DeFi interest, whatever the case may be, Ethereum has the rails and is world computer, electricity. Lubin said like 3 or 4 different things, right? Like it's kind of like all of those things, or at least has the opportunity to be all of those things. And if you want just an easy way to gain access to it, you buy ETH, right? You buy Ether, the token, versus all those different betas. And so, yeah, I mean, like I said, I think I'm kicking myself a little bit in the last few weeks by not even just starting a small DCA into it. It still feels kind of like that, not to be super cliche, but that like beach ball underwater thing. Like everybody else got their time to shine, right? Solana had its, Bitcoin has had its, but like Ethereum still feels like it's probably due a not financial advice, but it's probably due like a little bit of a time in the spotlight. I don't think it's really gotten that just yet.
It's hard to believe in some capacity that December 8th ETH was 4,000. I don't even remember what that
Oh
feels.
geez.
Yeah, it's crazy, right?
And would it be crazy?
It can run a long way and not be overbought,
Yeah. Like it wouldn't. Yeah. If we're doing the show in 2 months and ETH's at 4K, like it wouldn't shock me, right? If you told me that's a scenario that's on the table here.
Yeah, and that still feels. I mean, it feels a little silly that like only 4K. You know what I mean? Like that's what the way that I'm internalizing that when you say ETH is 4K, just because it's been there, done that before. You know what I mean? But we're still like 4,800 is the all-time high. Some of the analysts are projecting, anywhere between 4 to 5K here. Arthur Hayes said something similar as well, 4 to 5K by the end of the year. Like, it's not shocking, but at the same time, it doesn't even give you that, like the shine, just because it's already happened. It's kind of boring for ETH to be at 4K, even if that is like, a huge move from here. It's like a 50% move up.
It's a 50% move up. That's a really good way to put it, I think. Like Bitcoin moving 50% right now takes it to 160K, 150. Yeah, like that feels more difficult to me than ETH going to 4K, right? When's Bitcoin going 165K?
This year.
If it does, I think ETH could go a lot higher. Like I think ETH could go to 4K by the end of this summer. Basically, it could do it by, I think over the next couple of months. Basically,
I've been thinking about that a lot. Is if Bitcoin does do the run to 150, 160, where does ETH go? I mean, 4,000 feels like the base, or maybe even the bear case there. I don't know.
That would be bearish for ETH if it doesn't get hit 4K at that level, right? Particularly now that it has the narrative.
Well, it would be bearish, but it would be basically holding the current ETH Bitcoin ratio, right? It's 40 to 1. So you would need that would be them tracking in line. Just quickly, I want to go deeper down. But man, no, we have CPI tomorrow. I think Wiz of Soho, one of the louder bears on the time. He's telling everyone to de-risk into CPI. Do you think we'll see wider de-risking?
Can Wiz de-risk anymore? Or does he want to have any risk? Or I don't think you should be de-risking. With the right coins, I don't think you should be de-risking in CPI. If you've been buying things waiting for an altcoin season, I think you have to really evaluate what you own. I think runners will run. I don't think this is going to be the chance for you to get out or like there has to be a good narrative here for it to continue. I don't think it's going to be like it was in December or November. I really don't this time. I think it's going to be a bit more of a selective rally. If this market felt like thousands of people coming in and asking me like which coin should we own, like hitting the news, but it doesn't. This feels like we're hitting all-time highs because of institutional adoption of Bitcoin, and potentially that shifting a little bit more towards ETH as well. That's not a world where like your friends are asking you which altcoin is going to 10x, and you've got to play that hand. Remember when Bitcoin rallied because of all the ETF flows, and we were like, what the hell's happened to our altcoins? It's because there's no buyers of those, and we were all sitting here waiting for altcoin season as Bitcoin rose, and actually there was just no one coming in to buy them. We just were PvPing it between ourselves, and others went down during that period. It continued to go down. I feel like it's a very similar sort of period here where, I can see it from Man in Minutes. Like there's not hundreds of new subscribers coming in each day and wanting to read the newsletter, right? It's pretty flatlined for the last couple of months, and that tells me that this isn't a rally to like go all in on some altcoin hype.
Yeah, I think that's the right read. Well, before we leave this topic entirely, Logan, I'm curious, did you have a chance to dig into Paul Atkins' comments yesterday and kind of why everyone's starting to get up above the quick TLDR on this?
Yeah, so I read the remarks from Paul, and there were some others from Commissioner Crenshaw as well that I think you can read through on SEC.gov if you're looking to see the full remarks. To be quite honest, I didn't think anything that he said was super enlightening. But as Mando noted before, he kind of gives you just the sense that like the previous regime was very hands-on here, and we're going to sort of just let it be. Not in those words, of course, but it makes it feel like the regulatory stuff that previously hindered innovation, that previously scared people from trying new things or from whatever the case may be, like those shackles are kind of off. I think at the very end, one of the things that stuck out to me is like there's mention of like an innovation exemption and things like that. And that's exciting to me because you feel like these opportunities, particularly in the United States for a really long time, have just been like, you know what, we can't really push the envelope too much because we don't want to bring on any scrutiny from anyone else. And with this administration and the crypto task force and all, Gensler being gone, it's just been like, hey, go out and see what happens, and we'll evaluate when it happens. You know what I mean? And that's sort of what I got from it. I know that they had innovation exemption right there at the top. I don't know what else to say. I encourage people to read it for themselves if they want to pull out specifics. To me, it just felt more of like kind of like a reassurance that like, we are going to stay true to this path that's been we've been going down for the last few months, which is that, you are okay to innovate. You are okay to try things. You are okay, whatever, doesn't mean crime season or anything like that, hopefully, but it, just means like people that want to actually build and create in this new financial ecosystem can do so without fear.
Yeah. Tyler, can I ask you this? Because maybe I know, what do you think happens next administration? Let's say the Democrats win. Let's say we get AOC coming in, President AOC. Do you think all of this gets brought back? That's what kind of slightly worries me about this, is that like, although I'm super bullish about this whole Trump, like that, we're getting a lot go quite far. Do you think that like this could all backfire when it comes to like the next presidency, that like they actually come down very heavy handed because of like maybe some of the perceived grifting that's gone on? And this whole like reshoring of crypto in the US, is this just going to change in 2020, whatever it is, 2029, is it? Next election or next president?
I'd say it's been one of my bigger concerns, especially with the Trump family going deeper and deeper. But what I will say is that if I had to put odds on, I'd put Democrat chances below 30%.
Wow. Okay.
Maybe below 25%. So I'm less concerned about it right now, is because I don't see their path to victory. There's a couple wild cards with, if Elon spins up his own party, is that going to split the Republican base? It's like that's something. But Democratic leaders are pretty terrible right now. They don't have much of a platform. Even what they're doing with the migrant riots, I think is not even being very well received. Now. So I'm not concerned about it. But in the scenario where they do win, I think it's a very real risk.
They're always closer than you think, these elections, right? So
yeah, the one thing I like to think about, Tyler, not to cut you off if you're forming a thought there, is like how much money was spent by Coinbase and others, right, in lobbying, and that was across political lines, not just red but blue as well. So hopefully 4 years. The Trump stuff is the scariest part of the Trump personal enrichment is the scariest part for me, but perhaps in 4 years with like actual regulatory frameworks that seem fair and reasonable, and maybe not so much additional grifting, if we can do that, because it hasn't even been a year. It's been a lot. My hope is that perhaps both parties are a little more, level-headed about crypto, and it's just, it's better adopted, and I don't know. And then it becomes harder and less, I don't know, less desired to get rid of. That's my hope. That's some hopium.
Another aspect is it feels like maybe up until 2024, going after the crypto folks felt like a niche. Like, okay, we're going to be hardline stance against crypto. Crypto goes much more mainstream in the next 4 years. Now, if you're walking back the regulation, if you're going on attack, you're attacking a much wider group of people in the US. And maybe that's much less appetizing. So I think it's a real risk. I think it's something that if we make big progress in the next 4 years, perhaps we can take some of the risk off the table. So
yeah, you just got to hope that you get so far in the next 4 years that it just doesn't reverse. Yeah, I just think that maybe even within crypto, we should be kind of aware of this. Like, the point I make is really just that we're sowing the seeds of the next bear market ahead of the election. If it's like, oh crap, we're going to get something like, I don't know, if it's crime season and we get tokenization, which is really just like securities and all this sort of stuff. Like, I do think it's going to, in some ways, it can really turn.
Yeah, political shift, and then all the corporate treasuries become
at the same time.
Right.
Yeah.
Like that's the obvious bear market pullback scenario that positions itself right now next to like the quantum computing FUD or concerns there. So very valid, definitely worth keeping in mind. I want to go now down the risk curve a little bit. Won't be a huge surprise to a lot of our listeners there. So we've been talking about the bull case for ETH. What else is performing? I think Mando mentioned this. Uniswap up 25%, huge move. AAVE up 19%. So those are two leading movers in DeFi. We got to talk about SPX for a bit. I think it's become, Pepe is the number one meme on ETH. It's at what, 5.5 billion, but SPX is, its all-time high waiting room is open and electric right now. It's less than 10% off all-time highs, I believe, or right in that range. And it's going parabolic. It doesn't look like it's going to slow down. It's got half the holders of Fartcoin. Actually, I take that back. Holder scan has it at 78,000, but I need to look. That actually might be, I'm not sure if that's across chains. So I'll have to look into that. But I guess where I was going is it doesn't feel like nearly as crowded of a trade or as public of a trade as Fartcoin does right now.
I agree. This is a pain trade. I actually genuinely believe that. Like this going higher, people will be like, crap. Like I bought the wrong one. Like no one really like it's very much still a clique SPX, right? It's not like, oh, we all love this is the funnest thing ever. Like it's just Murad and then some accounts who I just kind of like who are literally insane about it. Like they will bull post everything, but they're not like mainstream accounts. It's very much like just a community that loves SPX. This is a prime example. Like that was a good trade. Like this going higher is a pain trade in the same way that ETH going higher is a pain trade versus Sol. I think this is a pain trade versus Mog and Pepe. Yeah. Right.
I like these coins. I don't own any, but I really do like the sort of like the movement coins, the sort of get behind, remember the house coin flipping the housing market and stuff. It's just really difficult to create the type of community that's lasting enough to get behind the thing, for more than like a week or two, right? Just because the metas are so fast. So like flipping the housing market, that's fun, but like you can't just keep that up. They've kept it up, even if it is just Murad and like two other people or whatever. Like they've certainly kept up this, hey, we're going to flip the stock market thing. And I think people can get behind that. And this is, the price movement here recently is definitely evidence of that in some way or another. So I'm rooting for it. I don't own any. I sort of like the Murad is right stuff that's, percolating on my feed a little bit. There's now a Murad, you were building out your lists by hand, Tyler, before on Deck Screener. There's now a Murad's Picks category on CoinGecko.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you can see them all in one spot on CoinGecko. So good for holders. It's still something that's kind of like I'm interested in potentially owning it. I don't own any at this point in time, but I can totally get behind the coins that sort of feel like they have some level of purpose. I think that might be easier to drag new people in than just pure meme. The purpose coins, if you want to call them that.
Yeah, I think that makes some sense. There's now a pretty wide gap between SPX and the other movers on that Murad list. I think the last time when SPX was at all-time high previously, MOG was also over $1 billion. So MOG's hanging out in second at 430, Popcat's at 380, Giga's at 240. And then the rest of the list has been pretty underperforming.
Has he abandoned these other ones? I don't see many of his tweets, but the ones I do see are only about SPX.
That's a good question. I see much less chatter about the overall Murad list than just SPX. So it does feel like perhaps he's a little bit less on those. And it feels like some of these other ones, I don't really see. The Retardio buzzword was everywhere last year, right? Like I feel like I don't see it. Lock in is kind of not really said nearly as much as it was. I still feel like Giga is a strong one on this list. But these middle range ones like Ticker Bitcoin, it's hard to get behind like a 3x on that. Apu. Yeah, so the rest of this list feeling a little bit weaker. I think MOG is still going to be MOG. Still got K-Money behind it. If it starts to move, everyone's going to start to rally behind that. Definitely. But I don't know if it's going to be the whole Murad list moving this time around like it was last time. I mean, we're already seeing that with SPX basically at all-time highs. Some of the other movers, we talked about this a little bit at the open, but man, hype has been incredibly strong. There was a pretty large sell wall at 40 and it smashed right through it. It was at 41.50 earlier today. It's pulling back a bit now. And I'm seeing louder and louder cries for like the move to 100 or the move to 400, which would put this thing at like Ethereum market cap. If
the move to 400, did you say the move to 400?
Yeah, 4 to 40 was the early move. 40 to 400 is the next move. So that would put it at a $400 billion FTV, which is bigger than Ethereum right now. Logan, have you been following the hype trade? Did you play in this much?
Yeah, I mean, I'm still holding not the entire bag. I offloaded a little bit, some for tax loss harvesting or whatever. I don't even remember. Not holding as much as I wish I would. I'm not like playing around in hyper EVM or stuff. I feel like that's something that maybe I'll kick myself. It's just difficult with like summer being around and other things going on to dedicate myself. Otherwise, I'm just kind of enjoying price go up alongside others. It does feel, Mando said it earlier. I mean, it felt like this was one of those coins. If things are going to go up, this kind of felt like one of them. Same thing with Farcoin. There's a handful of others that you can sort of, I don't know, just feels like there's some level of safety here built in. So yeah, I don't have too much to say other than, I mean, it feels like a winner. Oftentimes previous versions of myself would just kind of like, either I missed it or whatever, like not pay too close attention. I'm trying to be better about letting winners win. And the same thing goes for like the DeFi coins or anything like that. I think you just kind of focus on the winners that have established themselves thus far, and you don't need to get too cute.
It's definitely a FOMO. I think Max Payne higher trade a bit as well, at least for me, just because like you see so many folks talking about it. So every time it pumps 5%, 10%, you've got the whole timeline celebrating the new hype all-time high. It feels somewhat safe-ish, or at least it has. I mean, even these last two dips, right?
It's more crowded. That's the one worry about it. It's definitely more crowded at this stage. But I do think that the buybacks are good versus the current market cap. Yeah, they're good. I wanted to share the tweet that I did earlier because I actually just put it out before we went live. I shared my screen. Let me see. Can we do that? There we go. So I just put, how about ETH rising isn't altcoin season? We have, don't say that again. It ain't a parasite Solana if he runs all. Like, everyone just hates this. Isn't that just hilarious?
Yeah. For what it's worth, that again, think what you will of Arthur Hayes, but that was sort of his rationale. He spoke to one of the members of our team at the crypt at Bitcoin Las Vegas or whatever, and said that it's the most hated L1. And when you see a cycle turn a little, you want to be in the most hated asset. That would be Ether. I tend to agree. I mean, it is. I can't think of anything else people hate more at this point in time than ETH.
But those replies are hilarious to me.
Yeah.
Like, that tells you that there can be a lot of pain here.
I agree. I also just think like people are like misinterpreting alt season a bit. Like, I don't think there's a world where just ETH runs and like literally nothing else runs. Right. I think kind of like what you've been pointing out is that there will be pockets of outperformance, but don't expect like all the L1s to go up just because ETH does. I still think that there's going to be like, right, 10 big movers on the board in that scenario. I don't know. Maybe that's my hopium showing through. It's hard for me to see just like a pure ETH rally where nothing else does, but we'll see. Maybe I'll throw my comments in there and add to all the responses on this.
It's funny. Me and Obi have been going like a little bit, not back and forth, but like we've been debating this a lot in the back. And then I realized that 30 minutes before, he'd put out a tweet being like, "I believe in altcoin season." So it looks like I just called him out on the timeline, which is pretty funny.
That's perfect. Well, a quick shout out to Ovi and the Wrecked crew. Got to touch on this at least briefly today. How about that,
brother? There is no top. There is no top. This week,
price discovery.
This week, there's always stuff with these guys. They're crushing it. I'm in a group chat with Tabs and OSF, and each week they're just like, "Oh my god, we got this, we got this." Definitely a good time to be a Rex holder.
Tyler, have you had the blue one too? Shipwrecked?
And my case is on the way. I just got the email.
Lucky. I know.
Hopefully today or tomorrow.
Cool.
I'm excited to try that one. I've heard it's the best.
I know. I missed it sold out. I don't know what was happening, but I just like somehow missed the Apple and this last one. Work. Dumb.
I'm going to call you out on that briefly because I was hosting a show when the Shipwrecked launch went live, and I still was able to mint.
Where was I? I must have been doing something. I don't know. Yeah, it's not an excuse. It's not a good excuse.
Very quickly. I think it sold out in like, I don't know if man knows the exacts, but
yeah, like 17 minutes. You had to know it was happening.
Yeah, not a good excuse from my end, but I'm eager to try the other flavors because I enjoyed the liquidated lime, and I've been reckless for a while now. So,
well, I'll save you some for your Chicagoland trip.
And hopefully in about a month I'll be out there. Yeah,
you going to Chicago?
Yeah, it's been a while since I've been. I like a good Chicago summer day. So
nice. So are you going to meet Tyler? Are you going out for drinks?
Hopefully he can spare some time away from the charts for me. We'll see what's happening at that point.
No one works harder than Tyler. No one.
We'll see how busy alt season. If Mano's right and it's just ETH pumping, I'll have a lot of free time on my hands.
I don't think it's just ETH, to be clear, but I just don't think it's going to be a broad-based altcoin season. I actually think Bitcoin dominance can come down, and the big winner is like ETH plus Hype plus maybe AAVE, a couple of others, but like I don't think this is a XRP, SUI, Sol, like everything just fucking goes. I don't think it's like that this time. I really don't.
Yeah, and for the record, I do agree with you there. I think there's going to be another likely winner this summer, and that is our beloved fart coin, which I woke up and it was over $1.30 this morning, which was quite lovely to see. It was in hindsight, this was a big pullback. I get like $1.60, $1.65, went all the way down to like into the 80s. So basically a full 50% after just a massive run. Shook out a lot of folks. Now back to $1.25. Chart looks great again. We got Coinbase perps coming Thursday. We think spot probably coming along with that, but we don't know. And still Robinhood and Binance spot listings on the table. So it's a nice setup. I think this one is going to continue to be a strong horse this summer, especially if Bitcoin follows that beloved M2 chart. Another interesting token to watch this summer, Launchcoin. I think we got to talk about this a little bit. Talked about it yesterday. It's back to 200 million. The ecosystem has cooled off a bit. The ecosystem was incredibly hot over the weekend. I think most of the ecosystem tokens are red, about down 10 to 30% on the day. So certainly a pullback across the board, except for Launch. But what was interesting the most to me on this one are seeing the folks starting to extrapolate the revenue numbers again. And I think this is always one of those things that's like tongue in cheek, and you can't get too excited about a handful of weeks of revenue. But the reason I bring this up is, so Launchcoin had a fast start, crazy revenue numbers. It was a bubble. Okay, you can't extrapolate out a week of revenue numbers, but now we're like 3 to 4 weeks in. And the reality is more products, more tokens are continuing to launch ongoing in this ecosystem. And folks are trading them. And the new meme sector on Solana is pretty dead. Like the appetite for new meme trading, talked about it yesterday. It's all PvP. There's really no appetite for it. But folks still want to trade. And I think it is to the benefit of this Launchcoin ecosystem. And I guess the point is, even if you don't believe in it, even if you think ICM is all just a total vaporware, if there's trading action continued for another weeks and months, like the revenue extrapolation becomes a much stronger pitch. And we've got the Star Arena protocol trading at 250 million FDV yesterday. And Launchcoin is certainly seeing a lot more action and attention than that. So it's an interesting one to me. And I think it's one that can't be written off just yet. I think that's my takeaway.
I think it's really important that not to knock any products or founders or protocols launching, but it's really important that not everyone goes straight up immediately. In my opinion, I think it was obnoxious to start, right? It was just like all the manias and frenzies that transpire here whenever there's a new meta. It does feel like, at least from my perspective, and I'm not actively really participating here, but it does feel, I don't know, more stable, more real, like more authentic than it did before. That's not to suggest the products or protocols launching are legit or not at this point in time. But at least, perhaps a bit more due diligence being given to, not just throwing shit at every single thing that launches. You need that. You need some losers, unfortunately, for this ecosystem to be like a real ecosystem. So yeah. I think it's good. I think it's good. It's healthy. Maybe that's the best way to characterize it. Healthier than it was before.
The bubble blew up incredibly fast, and it basically burst. And now that they're starting to rebuild. I mean, look at this, like this price action, like this was untradeable. Like this 3-day stretch, Launchcoin went from 10 million to 350 million. It's like, that's just a FOMO trade. You're just buying in just to catch the price action. And then over the next 2 weeks, it went down 60%. But now it's going up a little bit more slowly at a more reasonable pace. And now it's giving like an entry where if you want to build a position, you can actually do it. And you can actually DCA in and buy dips and whatnot. So I'm curious how this will continue to trend, but I think the Launchcoin ecosystem is much to the benefit of this meme meta slowing down, the new meme meta, so to speak. But of course, the caveat, maybe the exception that proves the rule, Versecoin. It's off my window here. So this token launched on Pump Fund yesterday, Verse World. It went to 1.1 billion in 2 hours.
What is it?
It's like a metaverse game, right?
A metaverse. It is a metaverse play. Open to the public. What is it? How do they describe it themselves? Consumers, celebrities are seeking new and innovative ways to engage with each other. First of its kind to offer multiple real-world use cases and cover the full metaverse spectrum. So they're pointing to their tech, most performant 3D scanning studio, fastest growing metaverse company in the Middle East, expertise in clients.
No more.
That's the pitch. I'm not owning any of this. As I was once again, instead of tweeting about it, I just bought it.
Fastest growing metaverse company in the Middle East. I think we found the reason.
I wrote about this at 700 million, and then 15 minutes later, it's $1 billion. Of course, it's lower now. What's interesting? So one, like the reason this happened, this is massively bundled. So if you look at, I was looking at this yesterday. Basically, it's like 95% supply control, 95 to 96%.
Wow.
So the market cap is more. Oh yeah. So I guess the market. They're saying the market cap here is 50 million. So it would have been 100 million at peak. I think that's even a little high for some of the way I see this whole distribution. So that's what enabled it to go like this high. 'Cause I mean, we haven't seen tokens run to 30 million in a day lately, let alone
Have
$1
you
billion.
seen this other coin?
What's
This
the
coin
other
that, oh my God, I've been following it a little bit. I forget the name of it, but like B-Check got me on it about this coin that just keeps on rallying and like no one was like, this is
KETA? KTA?
yeah. This thing, which is like 100% feels like a scam.
Whoa.
It's like 1.7 billion. And like no one really knows what it does. Apparently mainnet is coming. And apparently the testnet came out the other day and everyone was like, this is just a scam.
Yeah, it had this long consolidation period when it was in stealth mode. And then it came out of stealth mode. Went from 100 million to 800 million in 10 days. Chopped at 800 million.
What is this thing? Can we have a look?
I'm not familiar with what this. So I've been following this. It has been on my radar. Most scalable blockchain in the world. So it's going to be a fast
10 million TPS?
built-in KYC, digital identity on-chain FX, flexible rules engine. First blockchain truly capable of supporting regulated
Don't
financial.
Don't go into their official. Just type in KETA and let's see what people have been saying. Money Lord, he's tweeting about it.
A lot of talk about price action.
MRG, I'm likely the first person ever to go on KETA testnet. TLDR is completely fake. The Explorer is a versatile vibe coded page posting fake transaction data. Let me just put it so you can find it.
Yeah, I saw that one.
This is always interesting to look at the ticker chats on Twitter. Like how many people are actually talking about these random ass tokens. It's pretty wild.
Rather, I kind of have this as a barbell strategy where I like to short trash. This one at the same time is dangerous. You can feel this one. Something's going on here.
Yeah, I'm with you. These are the tricky ones to know how to short. So Mixie was similar, right? So Mixie was the one that ran super high. It was just grinding up every day. And like the founder, like it previously had multiple 9-figure companies. So like some of the like Lexapro got behind it. It ran all the way to 100 million, basically up only. And then they had this announcement yesterday that some publicly traded company had been buying it. And like that was the announcement. It sold off 50%. And I think that was like a very sell the news event. I think a lot of these tokens had that kind of a play. Back on, I think part of the Tibber bull case is it feels like it's some of the same players of that KETA trade. Tibber is another one where it's a lot of speculation on what this actually is. No one really knows what it actually is. There's a lot of theories out there.
Just buy some, man. Just don't ask questions. All right. This is the fastest growing blockchain in the Middle East. Don't ask questions.
So this thing is, since April 7th, it's gone from 1.5 million to 100 million, basically in a straight line up, and it's still in stealth mode. So we'll see what happens when it exits stealth mode. Or run out of time. I'll quickly go around the horn let's see, was there anything else we wanted to hit? And those were the big ones. We had OCAP Games. They announced their $3.5 million raise from 1KX, and then Yuga Labs. That was an interesting twist. So Spencer acquires Moonbirds from Yuga. Yuga invests in OCAP Games. But I think that was an exciting one.
He did a good deal there, didn't he? Man.
Are you, Tyler?
Yeah,
I'm sorry. If you already spoke about this, because the news of the IP sale was last week, I believe. Are you interested in a Moonbird at all? It's sort of got the Pudgy arc here in play. Sort of, disdain for the founding team, taken over by somebody who's, beloved by the community. I don't know.
I think that they will be a good longer term hold. They're at 0.76 ETH right now. I think some of the recent price
0.76.
Yeah, I think some of the recent.
Wow.
They got a little overbought.
That's what he's doing, right?
Yeah,
and he has a business.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, you go, Tyler.
No, I totally agree. I think he's a competent founder. He knows the space well. I liked his message when we talked to him on last week's show, but also what I heard between the lines was, don't rush in, don't FOMO by this. Like, we're in for the long haul. Yeah. We're going to spend time building this out. So I didn't leave that interview saying I need to buy a Moonbird today, but I need to have them on my shopping list.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah, it's interesting. I haven't dug too deep, and I'm actually, hoping to be able to reach out and chat a little more with him or the team about what are the plans. I'll have to listen to your chat with him as well. But as I was thinking about it yesterday when I saw that news, and Yuga's willingness to participate alongside as well, it just gave me Pudgy vibes. Not just because of the connection, right? Because obviously there's a connection between Spencer and the Pudgy Penguins ecosystem, but just the arc of it playing out. The community really has that deep. I don't want to use the word hatred, but it almost gets there for Moonbirds and Proof. And now you narratively flip that on its head in terms of sentiment, in my opinion. You've put it in the hands of somebody who is revered and well respected. I didn't know much about Luca when he took over Pudgy's, but Spencer, I think community sentiment around somebody that would be even bigger than Luca taking over, right? You know what I mean? Maybe not, but that's just the way that I'm thinking of it. Perhaps just because I know others could comment if they were more aware of Luca when he took over, but.
Yeah, I think perhaps more well known, more well liked. Perhaps just on the gun. Not saying that Luca wasn't liked. I think he just perhaps was a little bit more of an unknown.
That's what I mean.
I think Bullcase Spencer knows these trading card games well. He's deep in Magic the Gathering. He's already had success with OCAP games. I think it's easy to project he'll continue to have that success. Moonbirds holders, if they held this long, they're not selling now. They held through all of that FUD. They held on a 90%, 99% drawdown. And now, I traded these. It was the most fun trading weekend, arguably, of my life. I took 3 hours out it was my birthday that Saturday. These launched, and I just traded them. And I love these things. And then they're a historic part of NFTs. So they've got that, built-in lore as well. So I think there's stuff to be excited about. I just think it's a longer-term play than we need to go sweep the floor today. So that's my read. Other than that, Thruster announced they're winding down operations. I think we got glimpses of that perhaps a week or two ago, but just kind of another sign of the times for the Blast ecosystem. They're the primary protocol on Blast. primary.
Do you not
recipient.
think that like he's kind of throwing the towel a little bit quickly here? Like, do you not think like he's a smart dude? Like he had so many interesting things he could do. I feel as though, yeah, the points maybe is dead, but can he not think of something else to like get it going again? I guess Blur kind of died at the same time, didn't it?
This was
Where's
been,
Blur still going?
I've been I'm like hesitant to like flood Blast just because I do have respect for Pac-Man. I think he's a really smart guy.
Right, me too.
But it's like what is going on? Like they brought in Jen to be on that like communication or like leadership council. I think she's done with that. So like what was the point of that? Like they're just hesitant focused on the mobile app, but like there's nothing else to do in the ecosystem. So like why do you need a mobile app? I guess you can earn good yield on your Blast stables. Yeah, it's been a bit of disappointing, but the similar story with Blur. I mean, Blur had the lead. Like Blur was the NFT marketplace. I was starting all of my days looking at Blur, and now I'm back to OpenSea.
Mm.
So
Look, I think he's a smart guy. It'd be a shame if he didn't come back and think of. People love a flywheel, and I think he can build one. He's the sort of person that could build like a hyperliquid competitor. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like he knows what he's doing. Admittedly, I feel as though the L2 was probably a misstep because he probably decided to do the L2 kind of at like just beyond the peak of L2. Let's all do an L2, and then it all kind of felt like that wasn't going to be the trade anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But Hyperliquid's come out and been like a one at like they could have made Blur I guess they can't really do it with Blur, right? Because they have to all bridge. But you do think that there's a lot of things you could do with an L2. Like if he made it a more centralized L2, same way that Hyperliquid is basically just a centralized L2 or L3 even, or is it an L1 now? I'm always kind of confused because you have to bridge the Arbitrum to get there, but like people think it's an L1 and then like. Can someone explain that to me, actually? Like, I'd love in the comments if someone explain to me what is going on with Hyperliquid. Because whenever I look at it, I'm like, okay, so I have to bridge Arbitrum to actually put money on Hyperliquid. People think it's an L1. And yet, people say it's also like an Arbitrum chain. So, like, where are we on that? Anyone know where we are on that one?
Yeah, I don't have the answer. I'll be looking to the comments myself.
It sounds way cooler if it's an L1, right? But is it?
From evaluation, I think L1 is stronger pitch than L3.
Yeah.
But I agree with your thoughts.
L3.
Rooting Pac-Man on it. I hope he figures something out. I think he's a brilliant guy. In the space be better with him building.
Maybe he's just done with it.
Yeah.
Maybe being a crypto founder isn't that fun. I can understand. It's tough. I can understand. Maybe it was not taken so well. I'm actually surprised that I just feel like he could come back. I feel like he could have an Andre Cronje like resurgence. You know, like, oh, he's back and he's built this. And
if he did, I think people would flock to him.
Of course they would.
Yeah,
because they know he can build. They know he's a smart guy. It's just like he just made some missteps. It seems.
Yeah, I think the difficult part is he's got to like be able to thread a needle now, where he's not just creating like a Ponzi thing, right? Because there's some skepticism around the products now that he's built thus far. Not perhaps around him and his ability to build them, but just some like, I don't know. At least from my perspective, like there's a little bit of skepticism about what would come. And I think you have to keep that reputation high. You have to avoid like a super clear Ponzi type thing, which of course the space lends itself to.
I agree, but I think you can create, the new word for Ponzi is flywheel, Logan, if you haven't realized.
Flywheel, okay.
You should definitely do flywheel. Did you see those the AI generated girls talking about what should Pasternak do? Probably some of my favorite video content. Of 2025.
I like that a lot. Feels like I agree. Move on from the Ponzi to the flywheel, and let's work out what you want to do here.
Yeah. Okay.
If you're listening, flywheel.
Flywheel.
Give us the flywheel. All right, folks, that is a good way to end today's show. We went about 10 minutes over, but it was a fun conversation. I want to thank all of our listeners for joining us. I want to thank our partners. I want to thank my co-host. We'll be back tomorrow at 10 a.m. Eastern. I believe Stats, the man, the legend, will be joining us for that show as well. Until then, go make it a beautiful day. Goodbye.